innocent like a thought in disguise. The scarab spins truth where the cosmos collide. Energy whispers, it never says goodbye. The Beatles crawl, the Beatles rise.
Go to AmericanHealer.website now. Get the tools for health and inspiration the way God intended.
Sort of burst the chaos, yet the chaos rise. My name Beatles, 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 over and over, spinning the world in the grip of their shoulders. Beatles, 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 under and over, rolling through time till the blackness is sober. The heat fades lower, the order begins. The stillness so perfect, it hums from within. The void sings softly, entropy takes a bow. In the shadow of silence, the scarab knows how. The second law is dancing, feeding life through decay. The third law holds the promise that the stillness will stay. Beatles, 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 under and over, rolling through time till the blackness is sober.
Go to AmericanHealer.website now. Get the tools for health and inspiration the way God intended.
Beatles, Beatles, Beatles. Definitely appreciate you for sharing the stream, Kev. And we are definitely going to finish this book soon. We are definitely going to finish this book soon. Because the Patreon family is on my back. I'm working, family, I promise. And I will be deleting everything off YouTube. All right, so in the book, page 400 is where we at. And page 412, we're going to attempt to do 2 chapters today. Page 400 to page 411, and then page 412. Yeah, this is a lengthy chapter. Yeah, page 412 to 424. So we are going to attempt to do both of these chapters. All right, so if you have your book, if you don't have your books, go get your book. Join the Patreon, get your books, get busy with the get busy. Don't mess around. If you do not have this book, you must have this book. This book connects everything. When I say everything, every single book I have ever written is connected in one way or another to this book. Somebody was like, when are we going to finish the class? It's supposed to be 15 weeks. I said, well, guess what? I didn't say 15 consecutive weeks. No, but we're definitely going to finish the class because I need the content. Right? We're definitely going to finish the class because I want the 15-week curriculum. Right? But no, there's a variety of reasons why we have to get through this class. It's just, to be honest, right? To be honest, there are a lot more levels for you at home to be able to visualize as we're going through the information. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of learning we're doing in the meantime, plugging in other concepts and ideas so that as we go back, right, as we continue to learn more and more about the body, in terms of light, electricity, and magnetism, in terms of traveling waves and standing waves, and as we get deeper into that pocket, right, what is in this book becomes different, right? And I'll give y'all an example. Watch this. Somebody's gonna get mad with me. Watch this. Here's the example. Put this book down. Put this book down. Here's the example. Put that book down. I'm gonna give you a prime example. Open up this book. Right? If you don't have this book, you're playing yourself. That's all I can say. But open up this book. Right? I want y'all to open up this book, because the people that have this book are going insane. They're going crazy. The people that have this book are buying more than one copy. That's how excited people are about this. People that don't have this book have no idea what's in this book. Okay. Let's go to the wave guide. Okay. So in this book, we have a wave guide. The wave guide is on page 191, because I know some of y'all have the book, but you haven't really cracked it open yet. The wave guide is on page 191. Right? Hold on, as I'm making sure that's what I want to do. Okay, you know what? No, let's skip that. Let's go to the chapter on skin electricity. Right? That is chapter V. I believe that's page 257. Let me see. And I know we got limited time to work today because we got to go to Yeah, hold on. Why I can't find it in my copy? Oh, that's what I did. I did some post edits. Okay, interesting. All right, hold up. Give me a second. Let me find this thing. Yeah, well, this is what I got for y'all in the meantime. In the meantime, in between time,
Rolling through the sand like a thought in disguise. The scarab spins truth.
Melanin first diabetes. You already know what it is. We here. Time to make magic, baby.
Rolling through the sand like a thought in disguise. The scarab spins truth where the cosmos collide. Energy whispers.
Side effects may include diarrhea, seizures, hair loss, eye loss, teeth loss, leg loss, divorce, getting arrested, diarrhea, death, paranoia, your friends blocking you, dizziness, prison, your eyes falling out, uncontrollable gas. You will die if you take this.
Your business. Don't mind your business. Don't mind his money. Repent is your self-defense. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Dollar, 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 that's a bill.
Dollar bill, dollar bill, dollar, dollar. Built it all on dollar bill, the foundation. Every dream starts at the bottom before it turned into a nation. Yeah, built it on some shortcuts, no inflation. Every dollar got a story, the currency of patience. Started from the bottom, now we started from the bottom. Started from the bottom. Money's blood, a magical force. The logo with money give life to a corpse. Health is wealth, a spell a glitch. If health is wealth, how does a corpse get rich? Just that Wall Street flow, baptism, homage. You know human life, stock and bondage. It's what you crave. Banks direct the way again. Banks directing the way. Dollar bill, built it all on dollar bills, the foundation. Every dream started at the bottom before it turned into a nation. Built it on no shortcuts, no inflation. Every dollar got a story, the currency of patience. Started from the column, now we hate. Started from the column, who start? Started from the column, wealth is inside it. Romy and Osiris, the first course you were doing dirt mean. Here the reason for the number 13, pyramid symbolism, understand the doctrine. All his branches came from like a knot in the both from the. She chopped the stakes, the 13th race. After the 12 days, Osiris' days on Aries was gaze. The Emmys, the logo stamped engraved. In the beginning was the birds, head and wave. One is one is from Abra, I am. When is one is me from my I am. Every second she said it's a pit. She talk about living in sin. It was money, little long. It's just a coincidence. State religion is the strongest. We got money, make money, money, money. We got money, make money, money, money. We got money, make money, money, money. Guilty, hold on. Dollar bill, the foundation. Refugees, for a certain transformation. Lifted on with a short rush of inflation. Every dollar got a story. The currency innovation. So this walk on my vision never was empire built brick by brick, dollar by dollar, nutty chase stand. Understood the flex, I was cannon every ground, just under respect. My befores, don't forget the time beat. Every nest I feet. I don't give up with the dream as they vision that a breathe. I should fake love, food for paper. I seen paper turn to power. For the truth in every tower. These are veins don't say be hours. Residents never bring me out what you gon' do with this. I'm a pretty do like you with the singers do it is. I don't work so money, I don't manage. When they go work, don't go logic. Dollar bills teach you economics. Train bills teach you standards. They running those straight to aliens, skip for a match, skip and pride. But if you're going with strength in your own hand, try going for it every time. American money, your side is stand 13 is an opportunity. You one thing left for it's a tribal bill, put it all on dollar bills, foundation. Every dream inside at the bottom, for it's time to surrender. Nothing on what to start, that's no inflation. Every dollar got a story. The currency innovation. Started from the bottom, started from the bottom, started from the bottom, started from the bottom. Everybody keep the signs in the hot, they was just structure, holding it up. With the bins we holding, don't try bother, and print, I'm counting it up. He is the mission, true value is for kitchen. The mind is special, no you for convincing, I'm crazy on life, blue at the gon' ice, the game is slice, hell is information. You are seeing the station, Freemasonry is Asian, got Freemasonry is Asian. What is one from I am it. When is what is one from I am it. In a sentence, what sentence isn't there? Talk about living inside. People with the most real and all these is a course man, from a living in a strong. Dollar bill, looked it all on dollar bill, the foundation. Every dream star at the bottom, before it turned into waste. Looked it all on the top, that's for inflation. Every dollar got a story. Currency invitation. Started from the bottom, started from the bottom, started from the bottom, started from the bottom. Made that money, made it on the phone, back, where it's going.
I love Dr. Enki. I love Dr. Enki.
Okay, so we closed the doors to the opportunity that Tony and I shared at the AI Advantage Summit.
And the truth is, people went crazy.
Melanin first diabetes. Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Rough transition. All right, here we go. I was looking in the wrong book. Okay. All right, so just what I wanted to do real quick. Somehow we got more people watching, so I guess that's good then. All right. So here's one of those examples where I was saying that, you know, taking a break from the classes, because we're never taking a break from learning or grinding or building, right? But taking a break from the classes allows us to get in more information that might be in some of the other books. And then when we go back to the class, our understanding is much deeper in terms of what we're able to see and decipher, right? So here's one of those examples, right? Now we're going to jump to page 257, right? This is the chapter before last, right? Chapter number 18 is actually chapter number 5. Don't ask me any questions about that. Man, and today is a holiday. That's why I'm live. That's why I'm live, because normally on Tuesday, I try to just spend Tuesday working, like in the background, doing my research, getting ready for medicine. But yeah, because today is a holiday, I was like, oh no, there's no way that I'm not going live today. There's no way that I'm not going live today. So yeah, today is a holiday. Today is a holy day for the family. If you don't know that, that's because you do not have your calendar, right? And much like Amber, I can't find my, oh, nope. Amber, you by yourself. I was just about to say, much like Amber, I can't find my calendar. Nope. Yep. Got to go to page 3. Right? You got to go to page 3. And page 3 says that we're supposed to read at least 1 or 2 pages from the blueprint that builds itself. So at some point we will do that. Right? But today is Quantum Entanglement Day. And no, it's not on any calendar except our calendar, right? You got to have our calendar. It's our holiday, right? It is Quantum Entanglement Day, right? And so there's a wide variety of directions we can go in on Quantum Entanglement Day, right? On Quantum Entanglement Day, you can think about somebody who has passed away that you are still very attached to, right? That you still communicate with. You can think about somebody who, a family member, a loved one, somebody who, you talk to all the time, but y'all don't live close to each other, right? So you're connected with them, but they may be in another city, another state, another country, my WhatsApp folks, right? Then there's a whole nother space where we just in the science, right? We just with the science, right? We're just talking quantum entanglement. We're just talking about information transfer, right? Information transfer via subatomic particle connection, right? Which is where I was eventually going to get to, but Amber kind of jumped the gun talking about her calendar. She can't find her calendar, but that's where I was wanting to go. Well, you'll see, because we're going to get to that part in the conversation where we're going to get, as we usually do in the melanin is anabolic discussion, somehow, one way or another, we work our way back around to the Krebs cycle and mitochondria, right? So at that point, I was going to bring it up. That's a good question. That's a very good question. That's a very good question. No comment for now. That's heat right there. I like that. I like that. That is heat right there. That is heat right there. I like that. You early. Okay. So back to the skin, right? Skin is not a positive wrapper. It is an active electrical organ, and it is one of the most information-dense sensing surfaces humans have. Long before anyone talked about chakras or auras, physiology demonstrated something far more concrete and far more unsettling. Your emotional state changes the electrical properties of your skin in real time, not symbolically, not metaphorically, measurably. This is where the lyric stops being empty rhetoric and starts being literal. Sparks jumping off your skin. This is not fantasy language. This is what happens when sympathetic nervous activity increases conductance, alters ion flow, changes sweat gland activity, and shifts local electrical potential. The skin does not merely feel emotion, it expresses it electrically. Now, we got Stacy in the building. We got Stacy done popped up on the holiday and all that. Stacy done popped up on the holiday and all that. All right, now look. This is why I'm saying when we dig into the other books, we're going to learn some more information and then go back, right? When we go back, it's going to have a more pronounced effect in terms of how we're able to see what we're reading, right? Because we spend a good bit of time throughout the whole course talking about pro-opiomelanocortins, melanocortin receptors, melanin concentrating hormone, melanin stimulating hormone, neuromelanin, pheomelanin, all of the different opsins, globins, neurons, nerves, etc. The more we learn about that system, though, the more it allows us to have depth and peripheral view in terms of when we're talking about even something as simple as losing fat, gaining muscle. We're gaining depth of knowledge, right? And also possibly future money. Somebody might develop the app, something, anyway. Right? The moment you experience fear, attraction, excitement, anger, anticipation, your autonomic nervous system fires. That firing does several things. It changes the heart rate and blood pressure. It alters respiration. And crucially, it changes electrodermal activity, the skin's ability to conduct electricity. This is why galvanic skin response became one of the earliest reliable indicators of emotional arousal. The body leaks truth through the skin, whether the mind wants to or not, right? So this is where, I ain't gonna say this is where, but this is partially where we have the concept in terms of body waves, right? This is partially where we have this concept, and this is where I go all the way back through the research, right? This is where I go all the way back through research, but some of these things Some of these things are just designed for you to stay tapped in.
Photosynthesis. Green is the businesses. Health is wealth. Water both instances. Green is the business. Green is the business. Get your order still. 100-pack chlorophyll, more than real, applaud the deal. Vitamin K for the blood, vitamin A for your eyes. Power of the ocean. American healer is the GOAT. Inky big bro price for the low. Cop and go, let them know. We cleanse and fasting. Get the month manual today. We don't play. In the Lord, with no line, know that I am loved, and we give thanks and praise to the Most High God for the divine spark that set our cells into perpetual motion. We give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats of light 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. We give thanks for your ability to drink clean water every 60 minutes, flooding the river of life. We give thanks that sugar has not covered our ferry and turned them into stone. We give thanks that darkness has not covered the riverbanks with calcium and turned them into stone. We give thanks that anger and fear have not turned our almonds bitter, turning our heart to stone. We give thanks for smooth sailing upstream through the valley of death, through the superior vena cava into the right atrium. We give thanks for smooth sailing around the heart through the corona crown, joining the vortex in the right atrium. Yeah. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim. We give thanks for the mechanic breakthroughs when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opening a pathway to the vineyard. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the lunar gate to the vineyard closes. We give thanks to the Most High God that provides the light in our breath and the light in our breath. We give thanks for the finned olfactory system that makes our grapes ripe with light. We give thanks for the jet pillar that provides us with a stable fleet of ferry boats to dock in our vineyard. We give thanks for smooth sailing through the pulmonary vein into the storm of the left atrium. We give thanks for the perfect black solar repeater that induces the primary electromagnetic wave, opening the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim. We give thanks for the mechanical wave produced when the mouth of the Kodesh HaKodashim closes. We give thanks to the ray wave reflecting on the semi-lunar valves, opens a pathway into the holy royal arch of the Waceptra. Give thanks for the magnetism of the Most Holy, the magnetism that repels and attracts the ferry boats alive 60,000 miles every 60 seconds throughout our vessels and caves. Amen.
All right, 3 o'clock prayer. All right, so this is not new science, right? This is not new science. In the early 20th century, researchers realized something devastating to purely verbal models of human behavior. People can lie with words, but not with their nervous system. Blood pressure shifts. Blood pressure shifts. Blood pressure. Blood pressure is associated with blood pressure shifts, pulse changes, respiration alters, and skin conductance spikes or drops depending on the emotional load. The polygraph didn't invent this reality, it exploited it. It formalized what the body was already doing. And here's the critical point most people miss. Skin electricity is not localized, it's distributed. There is no single node where emotion lives. There is no wheel, no vortex, no center, no chakras. Emotional arousal creates field-wide changes across the skin surface. Sweat glands, ion channels, vascular turn, nerve endings. The body becomes a dynamic electric landscape, not a stack of mystical discs. This is why emotions feel like waves. They are waves. When emotional arousal increases, conductance does not spike at one point and stop. It spreads, it oscillates. It rises and falls in patterns that correlate with intensity, duration, and regulation. Calm states produce smoother, more coherent electrical signatures. Agitated states produce noisy, erratic patterns. Suppressed states produce flat or delayed responses. These patterns are readable by machines because they are real physical events, not subjective impressions. Blood pressure links directly into this system. When emotional arousal increases, vascular tone changes, blood flow shifts, pressure rises, pressure falls. That pressure interacts with skin temperature, sweat production, ion distribution, right? Okay, let me skip down. I mean, I'm sure y'all all have this book, so you can read what I'm skipping in the book. Right? I'm sure y'all all have the book, so y'all can read this all in the book. Yeah, I'm sure y'all have the book, so this ain't, you know what I'm saying? This ain't like I'm skipping nothing. Y'all, y'all good. Right? What I want to do though is drop down to a very specific section. Okay, I think it starts here. Ion concentration is the key bridge between emotion and electricity. Ions are charged particles, and charge is the currency of biological signaling. When sweat increases, sodium and chloride ions redistribute across the skin. At the same time, blood flow shifts, changing potassium and calcium gradients in nearby tissue. These shifts alter local electrical potentials. The skin becomes a live electrical surface, dynamically reconfigured moment by moment based on internal state. Moment by moment. This is the information. This is just a fragment of the information that relates to heart rate variability. So as science goes deeper into understanding the unseen, what your ancestors would have called the spirit, right? This is the stuff that they're picking up. So when we look at the lie detector test and how the lie detector test, some people feel like, oh, because they're looking on the surface level, like, oh, well, they're not using lie detector tests in court like they used to. That's not exactly correct. That's number one. Number two, the technology associated with the lie detector machine has been because they've been out so long, I'm not going to say like down regulated, but the masses got it. The masses got it. So the technology has been incorporated in a wide variety of new things that haven't necessarily rolled out yet, right? So I want to give y'all an example. How many people in the chat have seen Kanye West documentary? How many people in the chat seen that Kanye West documentary? Did anybody see that Kanye West documentary? Okay. So I'm gonna assume nobody's seen the Kanye West documentary because Kanye West ain't putting out no music. Nobody paying attention to Kanye. He ain't saying nothing crazy. He ain't put out no music. So in the Kanye West documentary, one of the things that he's doing, and it's overshadowed, even people that have seen the documentary, they miss this little moment, right? Kanye West is sitting down with architects. He's sitting down with architects. He has one of his classic Kanye rants in the moment. So people just they missed what was actually going on. He's sitting down with architects. Now, these architects are not they're not the people that you would contact to build your house. Right? These are house builders, but there's always levels to everything, right? So even like the whole idea of being the boss is like a figment of people's imagination, that they run around. They allow Black folks to run around with this concept and mess up their kids' minds. Because there's always a hierarchy, right? And when you're uncomfortable with a hierarchy, at a certain point, you're uncoachable and not really, you don't fit in. There's this glass ceiling that you create for yourself. But anyway, these architects are at the very upper echelon of architecture, and they don't really design houses anymore. What they do is design parameters and blueprints for landscapes. And what I mean by that is, if you look at what a neighborhood looked like in the 1700s, what did houses look like in the 1700s, right? And I'm not talking about like poor people. I'm talking about like middle class people. What did that neighborhood look like? Because the middle class is always the model. It's never the upper class, because there's a small amount of them. And the bottom class, they don't actually make enough to capture what the quote unquote dream is. So it's always based on the middle class. So if you look at a neighborhood in the 1700s, right, that neighborhood does not look like the same level in the 1800s, right? Same middle class families, hardworking people, barely making they just making this month's money this month, check to check, how most of us, right? At best, right? So, especially if nobody ain't hitting the cash app in the super chat. So, but same type of neighborhood, the 1900s roll around, right? Houses look very different, right? Then you jump to the 2000s, 21, etc. So every so many years, there's a leap forward in terms of how the houses should look, right? And in this time period, right, the landscapes have been mostly shaped by people themselves, because there hasn't been such a financial boom that people have been able to build whole bunches of new places that are, for people to aspire into. most of the large, when they're building, neighborhoods, is for quote unquote affordable housing, right? And not necessarily affordable housing like Section 8 or whatever the case may be, but when they build houses, subdivisions, those subdivisions are designed to look as expensive as possible while not actually being that expensive. So in order to do that, there's quality, there's efficiency, and other things that have to be cut in order to make a $200,000 house look like a $400,000 house, in order to make a $400,000 house look like an $800,000 house, in order to make an $800,000 house look like it costs $2 million, because that's the era we're in. Everybody wants the look of a lot more, as opposed to where we've went through minimal eras before, where people actually wanted to look like they had less than what they actually had. So there was a lot more value packed in. Anyway, well, that I kind of learned from other conversations I've been having with other folks. But in the documentary, Kanye's sitting down with some of the higher level, architects in the country, and they're working on, they're trying to get his opinion on what houses should look like, what subdivisions and neighborhoods should look like going into the future. Because there's a lot of new technology that's going to be, cameras, roofs will be totally different, right? Roofs will be different. Solar panels will be built in, and just the whole dynamic of how people's houses look and how they're wired, right? Because those two things go together, right? So if you build a house from the ground up to depend primarily on solar power, that's totally different than having your crib redone and adding solar power into it. You know what I'm saying? Even though you could still do that, and then when you have the neighborhood built like that, it's just totally a different way. You know what I'm saying? So the houses in the subdivisions in the future are going to be different. You know what I'm saying? They have an AI in mind, and just the way the house run, like Ring doorbells and stuff like that. Those are actually a sample of what's to come in the future. Where some people can lock and unlock their door off their cell phone, and everybody pretty much has a Ring doorbell. So everybody is answering their door from wherever you at work, answering your door, like, get away from my door. I ain't open, like whatever. So my point is, that was a whole long story, right? But my point is, because it's important to what we're doing, our whole movement, our study, everything that we're talking about, everything, we're going to see this technology pop up in the future. And a lot of people are not going to be, they're not going to be ready to see this. They're not going to be ready to see how your skin interfaces with the technology. Because everybody has been saying for a long time, right? Thanks to Robert Becker in his universe, and thanks to Dr. Sebi in his universe, right? That the human body is electric, right? It has electricity running through it. It generates electricity, right? But nobody's really prepared for the interface of the human body with technology. Now, it's already happening in an uncontrolled way, which is why there are certain studies done on living near electrical wires and, people that have electrical sensitivity. That went on unnoticed so long, they had to actually recognize it to some extent. Like, people can have electrical, sensitivity. You know what I'm saying? We don't know how to necessarily gauge it or what the, how to really deal with it, but we have to acknowledge it's a real phenomenon. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm telling you is the technology of the skin interface. So don't think that the lie detector test technology, the roots of that technology has went away because they're not doing it in court to catch you, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That technology is so advanced. It's so advanced that the uses for that and what it means that your blood pressure and your heart rate and all those things shows up on your skin, right? So when we say aura, when we say aura in this book, we're not talking about the play time with chakras and all. When we say aura, we're talking about something serious. And this is why it's such a passion of mine. And I take out the time to go after people and argue and debate and do all these things that people say, oh, you shouldn't waste your time with this group or that group. It's not a waste of my time. Your ancestors died for this. Your ancestors died to communicate this information to future generations. They weren't making up the core concept of what an aura is. They weren't making that up. They understood that, and they also understood that because the atmosphere is electric, your body is electric. And when I say your body, I mean all the way out to your skin. This is where the weather interfaces with your emotions, even to the point of like grounding or what we call screwing in. Right? You have a layer of negative ions that coat the natural planet, not necessarily like streets and concrete and stuff like that, but the natural planet. So it is one continuum from the negative ion layer around the planet into and through you, especially channeled through your lymphatic system out into the out into the atmosphere. Right? So this is a very real thing, and it has a very real impact on people's health, especially when we're dealing with diabetes and high blood pressure. So anyway, ion concentration is the bridge between emotions and electricity. Ions are charged particles, and charge is the currency of biological signaling. When sweat increases, sodium and chloride ions redistribute across the skin. At the same time, blood flow shifts, changing potassium and calcium gradients in nearby tissue. These shifts alter local electrical potentials. The skin becomes a live electrical surface, dynamically reconfigured moment by moment based on internal states. Electrical resistance drops because resistance in biological tissue is largely a function of water and ion availability. Dry skin resists current. Moist, ion-rich skin conducts it. Emotional arousal increases both moisture and ion density, reducing resistance. This is why the skin leaks information under stress. It is not betraying the mind. It is doing its job as an interface between the internal state and external world. None of this requires conscious intent. You cannot decide to stop sodium ions from moving when sweat glands activate. Okay, now, this is just for the people who may want to go down the rabbit hole, right? What does hair bumps from barbershops have to do with any of this right here? What does hair bumps have to do with this? The darker you are, the more follicles you have. So when we talk about the electrical activity associated with the sweat glands and your follicles, okay, 2 + 2 = 4. We're going to go back to the book. I'm just leaving y'all with that. None of this requires conscious intent. You cannot decide to stop sodium ions from moving when sweat glands activate. You cannot will potassium channels to ignore a sympathetic signal. The nervous system acts first and cognition arrives later to explain what already happened. This is why polygraphs work at all. They are crude, imperfect instruments, but they exploit a fundamental truth. Physiology responds faster than narratives. Now, some people can modulate this response. That does not mean they can make their skin lie. It means they can change the upstream conditions. Through training, breath control, vagal tone regulation, exposure conditioning, and metabolic discipline, some individuals can dampen sympathetic spikes, delay sweat activation, and stabilize heart-skin coupling. Right? What does all that mean? Those are all of the technical terms surrounding they can control their emotions. If you control your emotions, you control the electrical activity that shows up in the skin. If you can control the electrical activity in the skin, you can, quote unquote, beat the lie detector test, right? I know somebody gonna say, yeah, but I know my cousin. I know this lady. Yeah, there are people who can beat the lie detector test. That doesn't mean you can do it, though. Fighters, monks, intelligence operatives, and seasoned performers learn these tricks. But notice what is happening. They are not overriding the physics. They are retraining the system that triggers it. The signal still obeys the same rules. This distinction matters because it preserves the integrity of the model. Skin electricity is not a moral test. It is not truth itself. It is signal expression. Skilled individuals learn to manage signal emission, just as musicians learn to control sound, right? You have to get this concept that information is energy. Energy is information. Energy is information. Information is energy. The instrument still vibrates. The question is how coherently. This brings us cleanly to our sheet music versus music motif, because ions are the bridge. Ions are sheet music. They are discrete, symbolic, countable units. Sodium carries a +1 charge. Potassium carries a +1 charge. Calcium carries a +2 charge. Chloride carries a -1 charge. Magnesium carries a +2 charge. Hydrogen carries a +1 charge. These charges are not metaphors, they are exact, quantized properties, like notes written on a staff. Ions specify what is possible. They define the range, the intervals, the structure, but ions alone are not the actual music. The music is the electric field created when the ions move, right? So this is where we have those discussions about sheet music versus harmonious sound, right? Yes, sheet music is music, but it is not the sound that goes into our ears. Now, some of us are so highly trained that when we read sheet music, we can hear the sound associated, but for most of us, that is not the case, right? For most of us, that is not the case, right? Now, we know that when an ion moves, it creates an electric field. Right? When an ion moves, it creates an electric field. Now, when an electric field moves, what does it create? When an electric field moves, it creates a magnetic field. Right? When the ions move, it creates an electric field. When an electrical field moves, it creates a magnetic field. Now, when we have alternating electric fields and magnetic fields, then we have what we would associate with an aura, right? Then we have what we would associate with an aura, right? We have light, right? So we start with ions, we get an electric field. The ions do not stay still. Ions do not stay still. Ions are constantly on the move. So as ions are moving, that electric field is also moving. That electric field is creating magnetic little fields as well. And as we have lots of ions moving and lots of electric fields moving, we have lots of magnetic fields popping up. And we have, obviously, electric field and magnetic field interaction. So we have light. So we have light being produced, right? But this is not our discussion, our class today. I just wanted to kind of tap into this. Right? So we get an idea, right? Sodium ions are the primary drivers of depolarization. When sodium channels open, positive charge floods in, making regions electrically active. In skin conductance, sodium-rich sweat dramatically increases surface conductivity. Sodium is loud. It raises amplitude. Potassium ions are the regulators of reset and stability. Potassium leaving cells restores baseline potential. In emotional terms, potassium dynamics shape recovery, calm, and return coherence. Poor potassium handling is common in metabolic diseases, right? So we walk through all of these things, and mind you, the conversation we're having is about the skin. But remember, all of your cells function the same way, basically, right? So this is happening in your nerves. This is also happening in your heart, right? This is also happening in your heart because these same ions are responsible for each and every one of your heartbeats, right? All right, so hopefully we made a little bit of sense. Right? So that's what I mean, though. That's what I mean by example of when we take a break from the main classwork and then we go into another pocket or we go look into another book, we find information that gives us more depth of understanding to what the main thing is. Right, Inky. I don't know if we're gonna get 2 days done today. We might not get 2 days done. We might get 1 day. And I had to change the video to week 12, day 2 only. But we gotta get this work in, man. And we gotta get some of this music in too. What y'all talking about? What y'all talking about? We gotta get some of that. Huh?
Melanin first diabetes. We here. Time to make magic,
Rolling through the sand like a thought in disguise. The scarab spins truth where the cosmos collide. Energy whispers.
Side effects may include diarrhea, seizures, hair loss, eye loss, teeth loss, leg loss, divorce, getting arrested, diarrhea, death, paranoia, your friends blocking you, dizziness, prison, your eyes falling out, uncontrollable gas. You will die if you take this.
Your business. The mind of business. The mind is money. Repent is your self-defense. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Dollar, 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 dollar bill. Dollar bill, dollar bill, dollar, dollar. Built it all on dollar bill, the foundation. Every dream start at the bottom before it turned into a nation. Yeah, built it on some shortcuts, no inflation. Every dollar got a story. The currency of patience. Started from the bottom, now we started from the bottom. Started from the bottom. Money's blood, a magical force. The logo with money give life to a corpse. Health is wealth, spell a glitch. If health is wealth, how does a corpse get rich? Just that Wall Street flow, baptism, homage. You know human life, stock and bondage. It's what you crave. Banks direct the way again. Banks directing the way. Dollar bill, built it all on dollar bills, the foundation. Every dream start at the bottom before it turned into a nation. Built it on no shortcuts, no inflation. Every dollar got a story. The currency of patience. Started from the column, now we started from the column. Who started? Started from the column, wealth is inside, it's Romy, Osiris, the first course we were doing during mean. Here the reason for the number 13, pyramid symbolism, understand the doctrine. All this bread just came from like a knot in the holes from the cheat out the stakes, the 13th race. After the 12 days, Osiris' days on every was gaze. The Emmys, the logo stamped engraved. In the beginning was the word said and wave. One is one is me, from I am. One is one is me, from I am. Every second she said it's a pit. She talk about living in sin. It was money, little long. It's just a coincidence. State religion is the strongest. We got money, make money, 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 man. We got money, make money, 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 man. We got money, make money, 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 man. Dollar bill, built it all on dollar bill, the foundation. Every dream started at the bottom before it turned into a nation. Built it on with a short rush of inflation. Every dollar got a story. The currency of patience. So this walk on my vision never was empire. Built brick by brick, dollar by dollar, they chase ten. Hunters for the flex, I was cannon every grind. Just under respect, my befores, don't forget the time beat. Every nest I feet, I don't give up with the dream as they vision that a breathe. I should fake love, hope for paper. I seen paper turn to power. For the truth in every tower. These are based on safety hours. Residents never bring me out what you gon' do with this. I won't pretend to let you make the singers do it is. I don't work some money, I go mad. When they go work, multiple logic. Dollar bills teach you economics. Plain bills teach you standards. Make money don't straight on alias. People are massive and proud. But if you're going with strength in your own hand, you won't for half the time. American money, you'll side stand 13 is an opportunity. You want me left for it's a tribal. Nothing on what to start, that's no inflation. Every got a buy slowly. Try to see innovation. Start from the bottom, start from the bottom, start from the bottom, start from the bottom. Everybody keep the signs in the side, they'll see the structure, holding it up. With the best sweet holding, don't trap out her head, I'm counting it up. Dimension. True value is for kitchen. And mine expensive. No need for convincing. I'm crazy on life. Blue at the go nice. The game is sliced. That is information. QRC is the station. Freemasonry is Asian. Got Freemasonry is Asian. What is what? From my name, I am it. What is what? From my name, I am it. In a sentence, what's Felix in Paris? Talk about living inside. People with the most friends in the know. Every dream start and bottom before it turned into waste. Look at all what's wrong, that's all inspiration. Every morning I gotta start it. Started from the bottom, started from the bottom, started from the bottom, started from the bottom, made that money, made that money, back,
Hello, Dr. Enke. Hello, Dr. Enke. Hello, Dr. Enke.
Okay, so we closed the doors to the opportunity that Tony and I shared at the
You know they purposely targeted my channel, homeboy. Tony Robinson, though. That's very interesting. That is very interesting that they're targeting my channel. Like, that is crazy. All right, so let's go back to the main thing. Right? Open up your Melanin is Anabolic books, week 12, day 2. Right? Week 12, day 2. Right? Week 12, day 2. The first thing we get into is we start to breaking down fat as active tissue. Right? So now, when we look at this, let's look at this from the conversation that we just had. Right? Let's not lose anything. Right? Let's look at this from the conversation we just had. Right? When we talk about lipokines, right? Chemokines, right? Or rather, let's take chemokines off. Let's just go cytokines in general, which is redundant. Right? That's me being redundant. Right? Then we'll go cortisol and estrogen. Right? Now, inside your cells, right? So we're going to talk about briefly fat cells producing these things to communicate not only just with other fat cells, right? But this is how fat cells are communicating with other types of cells throughout the body, right? So when I'm saying that the electrical conversation is important, right? Because in one space, we're discussing emotions and we're talking about mental health, right? But think about it. Mental health is 99% emotion. We don't think about it that way, but mental health is emotions. We'll have that conversation another time, right? But when we walk it down, and we walk it down basically to ions, right? You have to remember that everything inside of your body, all of your cells, they may have multiple functions, but all of those functions have a on switch and an off switch. right? All of your cells, every one of their functions has a binary on or off, 1 or 0 switch, right? All of them. And all of them, all of the switches are electrically managed, right? They're all based on electricity. They're all based on current. They're all based on ion movement, period. So even if we're having a conversation about how your nerves function, right? It's a conversation about ions, right? Because ions have associated electric fields. Those electric fields have magnetic field, like how that mantra. Now, some of y'all should have that memorized by now because we done said it 1,000 times, right? Plasma carries electric fields create magnetic fields, right? Alternating electric fields and magnetic fields produce light. So we have that cascade constantly going on in the body, but the body, until we have taken it upon ourselves to fund this research, to do this research, to consume this research, it has not existed. We are the creators of this. We are the creators of this, right? So we have to realize that starting with ions is where we walk it all the way up. Now, obviously, we can walk it up even further, especially with today being Quantum Entanglement Day, right? We can walk it up even further. And it's a multiple day holiday, right? So we'll be celebrating today and tomorrow. But because obviously if you go calcium is an element, and calcium has a number of protons and electrons. So that tells us the amount of standing waves and blah, 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 blah. So we can go further into the conversation, but we can just start right there at ions and realize that no matter what we're discussing, like right now we're discussing fat cells, that conversation is still relevant because the triggers that tell the fat cell to produce lipokines, right, which is a category of cytokines, or cortisol or estrogen, or do whatever their functions are going to relate to ion movement, right? Ion movement, electrical activity, right? Electrical activity. And complex compounds and complex molecules control flow and distribution of ion cascades, right? And what is an ion cascade? Right, let's see what the Google demons give us. I have a one-word answer for that. An ion cascade in the human body refers to a rapid chain reaction-like sequence of events involving the movement of ions like sodium, potassium, and calcium across cell membranes, often triggered by injury or lack of oxygen, leading to severe cellular dysfunction, particularly in the brain or during blood clotting. These cascades disrupt normal cellular function by overwhelming ion pumps, causing energy depletion and triggering damaged processes like excitotoxicity, inflammation, and cell death. Now, what I'm telling you is these things are happening very slowly in terms of diabetes. You have a slow process of this happening. Give me 1 second.
You need that deep, yeah. Deep, deep, deep with that blue magic. You need that deep, deep with that blue magic. You need that deep, deep with that blue magic. Theology in a bottle, calcium electric, I'm magnetic, your kidney electric, your... You need that deep, yeah. Deep, deep, deep with that blue magic. You need that deep, deep with that blue magic. You need that deep, deep with that blue magic.
All right. So you have this happening slowly inside your body. You have these things happening slowly in the body, and this is why we spend so much time on inspiration, right? Well, spiritual pursuits aside, this is one of the reasons why we talk about VO2 max, why we talk about diabetes being a slow process of uncoupling metabolism from respiration, right? While we talk about hypercapnia, right, and hypoxia. Hypercapnia and hypoxia happen as the metabolism uncouples from the respiratory system, right? What is the metabolism? Breaking down food. What's the respiratory system? Taking in oxygen. What is hypercapnia? Hypercapnia is when you're not getting rid of carbon fast enough. So you're building up carbon. That's what that means. Hypoxia is when you're not getting enough oxygen into the tissues, right? All of those things are interrelated. If you're breaking down food too fast, and what I mean by too fast is simple. When you break down your food for energy, these are carbon chains that you're breaking down. So you could strip the carbon of its hydrogen. The hydrogen is what you're going to use for energy. The carbon you have to get rid of. You have to breathe that back out, CO2, which means that you have to have readily available oxygen to couple with the carbon as you breaking it down. You have to couple 2 oxygen atoms to every 1 carbon. So because glucose is a 6 carbon atom, you need 6 atoms of oxygen every glucose you break down. So just imagine how many gazillion oxygen atoms you need, right? To go through a normal day of maybe pancakes and whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or not even let me not even make it like it's pancakes and Oreos, whatever, but just whatever you had to eat. Whatever you had to eat, 2,000-3,000 calories. Forget about it, right? And so your energy level is going to be determined by how fast you get that oxygen in and how fast you get that carbon dioxide out. So there's a whole process of those handoffs from the lungs, passing it off to the hemoglobin in the blood, and then the hemoglobin passing it off to the myoglobin inside the tissues, and then the myoglobin in the tissues passing off to the mitochondria, and then the mitochondria passing that oxygen back off to, back recycling it again, using that oxygen to recycle electrons and protons back into fresh water and ATP, right? Or pure water and ATP, right? How fast and efficient that process runs determines how much energy you got. And that's largely about VO2 max. VO2 max measures the front end. Usually, if the front end is good, the back end is good. Hold on, let me see what's happening in my house.
Rolling through the sand like a thought in disguise. The scarab spins truth where the cosmos collide. Energy whispers, it never says goodbye. The Beatles crawl, the Beatles rise.
Go to AmericanHealer.website now. Get the tools for health and inspiration the way God intended.
Sort of burst the chaos, yet the chaos rise. My name Beatles, 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 over and over, spinning the world in the grip of their shoulders. Beatles, 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 under and over, rolling through time till the blackness is sober. The heat fades lower, the order begins. A stillness so perfect it hums from within. The void sings softly, entropy takes a bow. In the shadow of silence, the scarab knows how. The second law is dancing, feeding life through decay. The third law holds the promise that the stillness will stay.
Okay. So it just made sense for the break that I show y'all the visual of what we actually discussing in the book, or at least at this part of the conversation in terms of oxygen coming in. Now let's go back to the Google Demons real quick so we can run through these concepts really quick. All right, make sure y'all can see. Lipokines, bioactive lipids secreted by fat tissue that act as hormones, signaling between fat and other organs like the liver, the muscles, and the pancreas to regulate whole body metabolism, glucose control, and inflammation. They link the energy status of fat cells to systemic functions, with examples including palmitolytic acid and FAHFAs playing a role in improving insulin sensitivity and influencing energy use, often stimulated by exercise or cold exposure. Now, I just want to say that cold exposure is overrated. If cold exposure was the key, everybody in Michigan would be skinny. I promise you. We live in Michigan sometimes like Eskimos. Like, it's literally icicles hanging off my house. And it's regular. They're not even bad this year, or not yet anyway, right? Because sometimes the icicles be like this. The icicles be like this, hanging off the front and the sides of the house and all that. It'd be crazy, right? But you, in your input, regulate the regulators, right? So lipokines, this is how people get stuck in a fat space. Like the rat race, fat space, right? This is how you get stuck. For a long time, science did not acknowledge that fat cells can talk to the other cells in the body. Fat cells is a force to be reckoned with. And fat cells have to be whooped. They have to be beat into submission, or they're not going down. They're not going down without a fight. So you're not going to just decide to diet off a few pounds here and there and think that's not how it goes. Fat cells got to be put into the sleeper hole and choked to the damn ground. They got to be wrestled down. Yeah. We're good. My bad. You got traveling salesmen in the snow. And I tell you, the snow is up. We got at least a foot of snow out there to walk through. And you got traveling salesmen bringing the door. Yo, wow. Michigan, a whole nother place. Michigan, a whole nother place. That's all I can tell you. It's wild out here in these streets. All right. Let's get a little more details. Let's see what they got here. Okay, so let's actually go a little deeper because they're not even giving this up. They're not even giving this up. See, that's what I'm saying. You got to have these books and you got to know this material. So let's just go here. Adiponectin, right? Now check this out. A protein hormone produced by fat cells that regulate glucose and fatty acid metabolism. This is crazy right here. This is crazy. This is crazy. Now let's type this in. Right? So these are others. These are others that you got to put in the stash. You got to take these down as notes right now. Write these down as notes. Adiponectin and resistin. Adiponectin, resistin, irisin, right? Irisin from your Irish malt. Just kidding. Irisin is another one. There's a bunch of them. And we have them written down in some of the other books. Right? But just so that as we going through, you have it like right there in your notes for week 12. Right? I just want you to have it right there in your notes for week 12 so you have it on tap. All right? Anyway. Blah, 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 blah. Right? So cortisol affects the fat cells by pumping up the fat cells. Right? And then we have estrogen, right? Especially in postmenopausal women where adipose tissue becomes a primary source, converting androgens into estrogen via the enzyme aromatase, a process that increases with total body fat. So if you want to minimize going into menopause, or you want to stay fertile, the first thing you have to do is electrify yourself. You have to start shedding fat. You got to start shedding fat. You got to start shedding fat because it's the fat that's going to get rid of your fertility. The fat is going to kill your fertility. So you have to shed the fat. Right? Same thing with you, men. If you want to get your testosterone levels right, to complement your TRT or to avoid TRTs, right? We want to watch that cycle. Cortisol, fat, estrogen. Cortisol, fat, estrogen. Yes, that trifecta, that's a triangle offense that not only destroys women's fertility, but also destroys male fertility. Yeah. Ooh, you see, I still got that rhythm, boy. Don't let me do something to y'all. You know what I'm saying? Don't let me do something to one of y'all on the court, man. You're gonna be looking crazy. The other that old man do that to you out there. Y'all let that old man do that thing to you out there. Telling you. Fat stores more than energy, right? So you have the triglycerides, but it's not just the triglycerides. It's all of those chemicals that you hear about on the health channels, right? All of those chemicals, right? Tonight is medicine, right? We've been talking about phthalates and other wild toxic ingredients lately. Where do you think those things wind up inside the human body? They wind up in the fat cells. This is why some of these books that y'all may be sleeping on is very crucial to understanding some of the larger problems. Like, I'm gonna pull out a couple right now, and if you don't have these, you know what I'm gonna say, right? I'm looking for the Clean Abs Fascia book. I'm looking for the Lymphatic Immunity book, right? I'm looking for Clean Abs Fascia book, the Lymphatic Immunity book. Is it in the hydrochemistry book? We got a bunch of different water books. No, the hydrochemistry book is slightly different. All right. And of course, it's in the Mayim book. Right? Of course, it's in the Mayim book. Right? Of course, it's in this book. But we have certain books where we spend a considerable amount of time talking about the fascia, right? Your fascia and your body's lymphatic system is one thing. All of your lymphatic system is weaved in throughout your fascia. The fascia is piezoelectric scaffolding for your lymphatic system. Every time the fascia is stimulated piezoelectrically, pressure, movement, that stimulates the lymphatic system. Well, part of that is shrinking fat cells. Shrinking fat cells. You have to empty those fat cells out and let them flush out through your lymphatic system, right? You have to keep that going. We cannot live in a bubble. There's just not, right? So one of the things that we've done, and I guess I may have to do a whole video on it, but we have slightly changed our detox formula, our chemi, right? So that way the chemi has more of an impact on the cells in the digestive system, including GLP-1 agonists. So we want the chemi to be able to work harder in terms of GLP-1 activity along with the purple phase. So we'll have a video coming soon on the combination of the chemi and the purple phase in terms of the GLP-1 activity, and not just GLP-1 activity, but all of these forgotten cells throughout our digestive system that is going to be the major players when it's time to understand food as medicine. This is where the whole rich abs and poor abs story begins, right? In the Rich Abs, Poor Abs book. So if you don't have the Rich Abs, Poor Abs book, you know what to do, right? But we changed the formula slightly, right? We didn't get rid of anything. Just a few things that we added to change some ratios and increase very particular types of fiber count to stimulate certain cell groups throughout the digestive system, right? But specifically for this reason, right? All of those chemicals are stored in the fat cells. So as you get more of these toxic chemicals build up into the fat cells, right? Let's do this for a second. Because I prefer this not to come from me. So let's see. Okay. Do y'all see that? Oh, my bad. Here we go. Do y'all see that? I want y'all to see this, right? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you see this, you can't unsee this. Fat cells significantly impact cancer by providing fuel for growth, creating a pro-tumor environment through inflammation, and altering cancer cell behavior, making them more aggressive and treatment resistant. What else you think they would do? They're building up all of the toxic chemicals. All the toxic chemicals you read about in health magazines or you hear about on platforms, what they're not telling you is they inside your fat cells. So the fat cells become like the garbage, the toxic, like the nuclear waste plants is, you know what I'm saying? Like they're like nuclear waste cells, little depots. You know what I'm saying? So everything bad is hanging out in there, right? The bacteria, the viruses, the toxic chemicals, it's all in one little place cooking in a pot on simmer. So now when you get some cells that are potentially cancerous, whatever you got cooking in those fat cells is going to multiply that toxicity level a zillion whatever times. Just think of it that way, right? And just having herbs is not going to be it, right? Just having herbs is not going to be it. This is why Dr. Sebi used to promote fasting for 1,000 days, right? Now, he may not have totally understood the mechanism, because I think if he understood the mechanism, he would have shared the mechanism. But regardless, that is a winning formula, right? You have to get the fat cells to start releasing that stuff as you're putting in the herbs and the quote unquote food as medicine, right? Because the things that are inside your tissues, the herbs and things like that don't always get to, which is the reason why again, the detox is formulated around the NRF2 system, because the NRF2 system is designed to neutralize everything that will be stored up inside these fat cells, or that could slow down your lymphatic system. Right? But I just want y'all to see this so you don't think it's, the doctor with the gold teeth just freestyling this. You need to see this. Right? Cancer cells, especially in fatty tissues, readily consume lipids from nearby adipocytes to fuel their rapid growth and reproduction. Excess fat tissue leads to higher estrogen levels, increasing risk for cancer like breast cancer. Inflammation. Obesity creates chronic inflammation, a state where fat cells release inflammatory markers that can damage DNA and provoke cancer development. Metabolic symbiosis. A close interaction occurs. This is crosstalk. This is communication, where cancer cells reprogram fat cells, turning them into cancer-associated adipocytes to get nutrients, while these cancer-associated fat cells release factors that help cancer spread. So now they done added gang talk. That's crazy. So now they done added gang talk to medicine. That's wild right there. Yeah, so now you got fat cells is known as 50-50. They're not actually gang members, but they're not civilians either. They soft banging. You know what I'm saying? They helping the gangsters. they helping the cancer cells to violate. This is crazy. That is wild. Treatment resistance. Fat cells can signal cancer cells to slow down, making standard treatments targeting fast-growing cells less effective, right? So this is important to understand, right? When we're having this discussion about anabolic, right? Melanin is the anabolic system, and we're discussing fat and all of this. There are certain words that we don't use correctly, right? Alkaline being one of them, right? And we got to thank Dr. Sebi for confusing everybody, right? Because Dr. Sebi came in and came with at least to the Black community, where he came in with that lingo of acid and alkaline, right? In terms of food, then told everybody, anyway, but he came with his lingo of acid and alkaline, but he also told everybody not to read any books, which was crazy. You came in with the language of biochemistry to a largely illiterate group of people, respectfully, right? These are people that are not reading. They're not studying anything. You come in with this language of biochemistry, acid and alkaline, or acid and base material, and then you tell them not to read, right? That's crazy, because then they don't understand the information. Their only source of information is whatever you telling them, which is wild, right? That is called not freeing the slaves, just becoming the slave master yourself. So he didn't free you. He just wanted to replace your master. Yeah, man, don't be mad with me. Listen, Sebi is still the GOAT, right? But Sebi was a wild salesman. Sebi was a wild herbal salesman, right? So my thing, though, is when we're having this conversation, you need to make new word associations. So a lot of the times when we were using the word alkaline as healing the body or regenerating the body, the word that we should have been using is anabolic, right? Because anabolic is the healing, regenerating, rebuilding, right? It's not just a word that's you got to take steroids to use, or it's only a word for bodybuilders and big muscles and all that. That's not how it goes. Your body has to replace millions and billions of cells every day. Every moment your body's regenerating, and how well it does that determines your health. So that's absolutely anabolic process, right? The opposite of estrogen, right? Because estrogen is a catabolic hormone, right? Estrogen's a catabolic hormone along with cortisol. These are the things that break things down. You have anabolic hormones, catabolic hormones. Do you need both sets? Absolutely. But when you get too much of one and not a balance, you get problems. And most of us are dealing with too much catabolic hormones, and catabolic hormones help create cancerous environments. So when we're having this conversation about melanin being anabolic, we're talking on multiple levels. The entire conversation is an entendre, because we're talking on multiple levels of healing and regeneration, right? Hopefully it's making sense, right? All right. So we already talked about resisting. We already talked about resisting, right? We talked about resisting and adiponectin. Then we have leptin in the building, which normally signals I'm full, but becomes dysregulated in obesity. We'll talk about leptin later on. Maybe today, maybe not. Because you have a lot of misinformation surrounding leptin on the internet. Shout out to Jack Cruz, the misinformation maniac. In obesity, this endocrine signaling becomes chaotic and harmful. Cytokines, the inflammatory profile of fat. Adipose tissue under stress becomes inflamed and secretes. Okay, so you got to know about this group right here. I call them the three ruffians. If you notice, I use that term all the time, right? The three ruffians is just all around bad guys. And they usually come in a trio, like ego, fear, and superstition, right? You usually get a trio. But this trio, can I see? Yeah, this trio, IL-1, IL-6, and tumor necrosis factor, TNF. These are the three ruffians everywhere. So usually, right? Usually, when they use the term inflammation, usually what that means is you have these three cytokines running wild, right? These are cytokines. Cyto meaning cell, kines meaning signaling molecule, right? So these are cytokines. Now, if you go back to, man, how far we got to go back? If you go back to, I want to say Melanin vs. Diabetes, book 3. Melanin vs. Diabetes, book 3. Or maybe it's in the carbon book. Let me see. Is it in the carbon book too? I think I did put something in this carbon book. Well, we got the raw fasting, how to go raw. Females. No, it's in a couple of different books though. It's in a couple of different books. I know the very first book that I put it in was Melanin vs. Diabetes, book 3. I know that's the first book. Where you at? Bam. This book right here. I know, and I think I might have elaborated better in later books, but this is the book that I first started collecting this data. Okay. So if you have this book and you go to page 40, right? If you have this book and you go to page 40, on page 40, we start to talk about interleukins, right? Whenever you see the IL is for interleukins, right? But it's a type of cytokine. So just try not to get lost in all of the frivolous terminology because there's a lot of ridiculous verbiage, right? But all of these little chemicals, all of these little compounds, these little molecules, they all have an impact on your overall anabolic system or your overall melanin system, right? So IL-6 and tumor necrosis factor are all anti-melanin. They all act against the melanin system. And it makes sense because they are inflammatory compounds, right? So, and then we take it a step further, obviously. Melanin stimulating hormone, melanin concentrating hormone, right? So all of these, we try to go as deep as we can in terms of the cytokine channels in some of these books. So we begin that conversation though. So if you have this book already, it's on page 40, right? We talk about how this impacts the larger system, right? Or at least we open the conversation. We have some more. We have at least 2 or 3 more books where we elaborate a little bit more. You know, as we study more, we learn more, we can elaborate more. But that's where the conversation starts, right? Anywhere you see crazy wild, like for instance, diabetics in the pancreas. So one of the things that we address is being able to turn those things off and down-regulate them. And I know this book is in my room. Hold on, I'm about to go get this book. I'm about to go get this book. So y'all on this. Y'all on this till I come back.
You need that D, yeah. D, with that blue magic. You need that D, with that blue magic. You need that D, with that blue magic. Theology in a bottle. Calcium electric, I'm magnetic. Your kidney electric, your liver magnetic. I'm talking kinetic. That deep put God in the flesh. That deep put God in the flesh. Say it, say it. Electrons in your bones, stay high on that blue magic brain glow set. Dopamine flow, genes mode activate. Orally, fall. All spirit low, chakra, inky the doctor. Ancient physics streaming on the product. The ketamine and ancient chemistry, biblical fact. Bring it back from the scroll to the lab, from the text to the trap, yeah. Hey, look, we live with it. Cash up, super chest on crowd to J school. Yeah, run it up, run it up, run it up. Cash up, super chest on crowd to J school. Hey, tap in, let's go.
So we have the Soulcraft lab workbook. Now, if you have the lab workbook, you have to go to page 179, right? The Soulcraft lab workbook, go to page 179, right? It's a bunch of blank pages. This whole section from 179 to 211. You basically have one herb per page. And on that page, there's a brief description of what the herbs do, right? Now, I'll give you an example, right? Black walnut. Black walnut downregulates IL-1, right? So that's here, right? So we go through a variety of herbs and talk very specifically about how they interact with inflammation. So that way, if you want to put together something to deal with a particular issue, you have your book and the pages are blank so that you can do more research and add more info. The pages are not blank, but the pages are mostly blank. So you can read what's there as a seed for your research, and then you're supposed to fill up the rest of the page with your pen as a student, researching, taking notes on all the other things that you've discovered about black walnut or juglone or whatever you figured out, right? So not only do we go through in the books the different cytokines and how they affect the anabolic system, but we go through the books and go through the plants to show how each plant can turn them down, can down-regulate this, up-regulate that, right? How does it do that? By controlling the mechanisms that send electricity to specific spaces to flip on off switches and on switches, right? All right. Hopefully we're making some sense. Hopefully we're making some sense. All right. So we talked about cortisol and this fat storage loop. All right. So we talk about this often, but it's always good to continuously recap it so at some point it sticks in your mind. All right. We got the Krebs cycle, and then we got photosynthesis over here. Right? The Krebs cycle attaches water molecules to carbon. Excuse me. Photosynthesis attaches water molecules to carbon. The Krebs cycle separates the water molecule from the carbon. This is how your body digests and produces energy. But your body is only able to do that readily because of the oxygen that's present, right? See, these don't have anything to do with the energy per se. The carbon and the oxygen cancel each other out. The oxygen is the key to the carbon and vice versa. That's what they're there for, right? The hydrogen is what your body's going to use for actual energy, right? So when you talk about the sun's energy is hydrogen, right? Now, this is energy, or these are molecules. These carbohydrate molecules are for immediate energy production, right? Fat cells are not for immediate energy production. They're for energy production later. So fat doesn't have the oxygen. Fat doesn't have oxygen, right? It does, though, still have the same type carbon chain, right? Still has the same type carbon chain. It may be longer or whatever, but has the same type of carbon chain, and it still has, right? It still has the hydrogens attached to it. Wherever they at, it don't matter where they at. They might be on one side, the other side. They might be split on both sides, but you still have a carbon attached to two hydrogens. So in order to break down fat, in order to electrify fat, you have to bring in more oxygen. So this means you have to tilt the scale in a whole nother direction. So when we talk about metabolism coming uncoupled from respiration, that's just 50-50. That's just saying that you need to have oxygen for every carbon. You need to have 2 oxygens for every carbon. That's just 50-50. That's just maintenance. That's just maintenance. If you want to actually get rid of fat, you have to breathe in twice as much oxygen, because oxygen is what makes the fat available for your body to turn into energy. You can't break the carbon and the hydrogen up without bringing in oxygen. So this is where the name for the system comes in, right? It's beta oxidation. And so after fat goes through beta oxidation, now it's ready to go into the Krebs cycle, right? But that's what's missing. All these here are missing oxygen. If you add an oxygen to any one of these here, then you basically back to square one in terms of carbohydrates. So to make it so that your body can store this energy long term, it's no oxygen attached to these fat chains. You know what I'm saying? They may have something down here, right? You might see down at the bottom or something, you know, something crazy like that. There might be a loose oxygen or two hanging on there, but it's not the same as when you have carbohydrates, right? Just so you can see, right? Somewhere down at the head or the tail of your carbon chain, you may have a straggler or two of oxygens, but that's not the same as your carbohydrate. Your carbohydrates are formed in units of water droplets, right? So that becomes the key, right? Getting in more oxygen. And how do you get in more oxygen? Well, you could stand still and just right? Like you can just, you know, you could try to stand still and look goofy and do like some Wim Hof, you know, Kundalini fire breathing practice. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm familiar with before Wim Hof tried to fake it like he made that up. You know what I'm saying? That's fire breathing. That's Kundalini practice, right? But that doesn't translate. That doesn't translate. You know, you can be cute and change your blood, you know, pH real quick and you'll start to feel woozy. You're not really doing anything long term with that, right? Because there's no blood flow changes in terms of there's no blood flow changes in terms of like getting more blood flow into the tissues, which means that the oxygen is leaving the hemoglobin, going to the myoglobin, going to the mitochondria, causing a more rapid pace of metabolism, of electrogenesis, right? If you don't increase the rate of electrogenesis, of aquagenesis, then the excess oxygen you're breathing in is not really doing anything, right? You have to add movement. This is where we come back to that number, the joules, Joules. You have to find a way to increase the sustained amount of electricity that your body produces, right? You can get a loose track of it by tracking calories, but calories is very inaccurate because calories not designed for electricity. Calories designed to track explosions in controlled settings. All right. I'm trying to push. All right. Catecholamine, right? Building up the anabolic system, right? Catecholamines, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine. They all begin with what? They all begin with what? And yes, that is a rhetorical question. I've been ignoring y'all so we can push through this book. They all begin with this guy, right? They all begin with this guy, right? The aromatic ring and that electron vortex, right? They all begin with that ring, right? And that ring is translated via what? Tyrosine and tryptophan rich foods, right? Foods that are rich in tyrosine and tryptophan, right? Foods that are rich in tyrosine and tryptophan, right? These are your aromatic amino acids because they have that aromatic ring, right? The catecholamines begin here, right? All of your catecholamines are formed from tyrosine and tryptophan. The catecholamines then, right? The catecholamines then, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, right? These are going to be the guys that get rid of the visceral fat, right? So it's one thing for us to manage a little bit of pounds here and there. It's another thing to go in and get the fat from around the heart, right? The fat that's in and around the layers of the heart, right? That's in and around the pancreas, in and around all of the organs, the dangerous types of fat. It's catecholamines that allows your body to get rid of that visceral fat, right? So that visceral fat, right? So when we start discussing food as medicine, oh, this gonna be primary discussion, right? Just they're not going to take you down this far down the rabbit hole. They're not going to tell you that it is a light and electricity based reaction beginning here. And because this aromatic ring that interacts photons and electrons is woven into these amino acids, and these amino acids are then interwoven into your neurochemistry via these catecholamines. These catecholamines are able to get rid of that visceral fat for you, right? So early in the morning, you need to have those, right? Early in the morning, you need to have these, because these also, not only do these play a role in the visceral fat conversation, right? Visceral fat, right? But these is also the Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia gang. This the same crew. So the same crew that target the visceral fat is the same thing for Alzheimer's and all that. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all that, right? Why? Right? Because these is the things that turns into neuromelanin, right? So dopamine is going to be converted to neuromelanin in the substantia nigra and all throughout the reward tract, and norepinephrine and epinephrine is going to be the roti. I don't know what got into my mind with Caribbean food. Anyway, the locus ceruleus, right? The blue purple spot in your brain, right? Because they convert to neuromelanin, right? So this whole cascade of events, right? The catecholamines is absolutely a part of your anabolic melanin system, right? The same way that fat breaks down muscle, right? You have a whole system in your body dedicated to breaking down fat, all types of fat, right? All types of fat. Okay, anyway, hopefully we're making sense. All right, now let's go through some regular degular schmegular. Let me see what's in the chat. Let me see what we're talking about in the chat. Y'all know I love the chat. Chat, y'all know I love y'all. Let me see what y'all talking about. Chat, y'all know I love y'all, right? Oh, somebody trolling. What is happening? M4 said what? Okay, shout out to Hard One in the building. Me and Hard One supposed to go live tomorrow. M4 is trolling though. What M4 talking about? M4 said, didn't Rockefeller have like 99 hearts? Yo, folks with money be trying to hold on by any means necessary. They don't understand this game wasn't designed for that. Listen, this game wasn't designed for you to hold on to your flesh forever. Right? So longevity is about getting you a good century in, right? But in that process, you have to understand the way the whole game is built. Right? The way the whole game is built, right, is there's a certain amount. First of all, you're supposed to have children. Children is a part of your vehicle into the future. So if you don't have children, you don't really have a vehicle into the future, right? At least not for your physical body, right? Your physical body's vehicle into the future is through your children, right? Your mental, that's where you have to record your mind. You have to record your thoughts, right? So writing books is a good vehicle. Papyri, engrave stuff into stone. You know what I'm saying? Write down your information, right? Your information will outlive you. That is a way to have your mental, your thoughts get into the future, right? Influence on people, right? And particularly, you're supposed to anyway combine the two on your children, right? So your children get your DNA, so they get your genetics, or part of it. They get a bit of your genetics, right? But then you're supposed to be interacting with them mentally all the time, so that now the genetics gets that's your vehicle into the future. And then you got little more watered down versions like grandkids, great grandkids, depending on how much you can influence their mind. Right? You gotta get on to them and influence their mind, though. You know what I'm saying? So we'll have a lot of video. But again, I've been telling people for the past 10 years, our time capsules look crazy because we're not looking at social media as time capsules. So there's a whole nother twisted, magical reason. Y'all don't understand dark magic. You know what I'm saying? I've been trying to explain as much as I can, but there's another reason why people are paid for a certain type of, like the algorithms reward foolishness for a reason. You know what I'm saying? So these would be your time capsules. So all of the people that just they're like, oh no, I just know how to use social media. So you got all these clips saying ridiculous, crazy foolishness on the internet because these sound bites goes viral. But the thing is, once you're dead, those moments will still live on into the future. And so you got to have some balance. You know what I'm saying? You got to have some other content, which is, you know what I'm saying? You got to have some sensible content to balance the pure, because I got plenty of pure madness on the internet. I just try to balance it with a lot of hours of this types of content. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully this overrides, whatever else is floating around. You know what I'm saying? But these are definitely time capsules, and they're going to outlive us. You know what I'm saying? So we got to think that way. But yeah, Rockefeller and them folks be trying to preserve their vessel. They be trying to preserve their vessel for too long. And they don't understand it. Peyton, is you trying to hate? Is you trying to hate on my new song? Listen, that's because I could tell Peyton don't have a new. Peyton, you got to get the new book, bro. Peyton, you got to get the new book, bro. Yeah, you got to get the new book, bro. When you get the new book, then you're going to understand the new song. Yeah, when you get the new book, you're going to understand the new song. You're going to be like, oh, that's what Inky is talking about. This is in the, oh, this is from the Monk Manual. This is, okay, all right. Peyton is my music critic. I be having to make music for Peyton. I be even asking Chase and Caleb, like, yo, you think Peyton will like this? When I be making stuff, I be like, or sometimes I be like, man, Peyton, I don't care what Peyton likes. But I be thinking about Peyton when I'm making music, though. For sure. Uh-oh. Let's go Amber with the super chat. That's what I'm talking about. Let's talk heavy. Talk heavy. Let's get the super chat, the high five, all there. Yeah, let's get the all that. The skeleton thinks of fat as a whole, or is it's just a holder for the host? I'm not sure that I totally understand. I'm not sure I totally understand the question. But I do know that fat and the skeleton are at war. So I don't understand the question, but I could tell you that the skeleton is at war with fat. Period. That's a whole nother part of the conversation. We talk about that in I believe we talk about that in the piezoelectrochemistry book. We talk about that in a couple of books, actually. But fat is what ages the bone. Fat is literally what ages the bone. And so as your bone ages, your bone is not able to produce blood and immune cells at the same speed, right? Because people forget that your blood cells that your body got to produce millions per second is coming out of your bones. All of your B cells, T cells, all of that is coming out of your bones. And so the more fat we carry, the less we the faster your bones age, and the less your bones are able to produce. The less your bones produce, the less your body is able to respond in real time to new challenges. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's a infection, whether that's something in the environment, whether that's something that's genetic, whether it's just you changing your lifestyle to maybe you was working as a social worker at a desk, and now something changed, and now you're a fireman or a construction worker, or you play basketball or something, whatever. You went from a sedentary type of day-to-day to a more active one. Your bones have to carry that burden, right? And vice versa. Maybe you went from an active lifestyle to a sedentary one, right? Maybe you went from a rapper to a blogger, right? We got a whole group of people that's getting ready to bust out with metabolic disease like nobody's business. That's why I'm telling y'all, y'all have no idea what's coming down the pipeline in the next 5 or 10 years. The last 5 or 10 years, we've had an explosion of what? People working from home. Well, the only reason people had a little bit of life to stand on in the first place was because their job kept them moving throughout the day. So at least they had to get up, 2 hours before work so they could eat, get dressed, move around, yell at the kids, kiss their wife, kiss their husband, drive to work or run to work, bus to train to work, get travel to work, boom. Then they at work handling their ones and twos, doing whatever they do. They 2 hours, whatever. They turn around. So 8 hours at work plus 10. So usually you got a 12-hour day that's already structured for you Monday through Friday, right? At least 5 days a week, you got a 12-hour thing that you got going on. Well, folks done shifted that to at home. And now that's 9 to 5ers. 9 to 5ers is now working online to where they doing not just, they doing customer service stuff, or they doing work that they would have been doing in the office because they office closed. The school where I went to get my certification as a naturopathic doctor, they closed during COVID. There's a lot of places that closed, so jobs went down, and some jobs didn't just go down, they just transferred to online. So it's people that's doing their old job, but from the house, right? That's 9-to-5ers converting to houses, right? And even if they go work out 30 minutes, that ain't your 30-minute workout is not replacing your 12-hour day. Now you sitting at home for that whole 12 hours, and you replacing that by going to the gym 3 times a week, working out for 30 minutes. That is not even close. That is not even close, right? And then you got the street guys. So whereas guys was moving around the street, or maybe they was into the music, moving around city to city, show to show, studio, now they're sitting at home. They doing podcasts. They podcasting. Right? And what is all the podcasts coupling they show with? Right? All the podcasts is getting sponsored by alcohol. And the ones that's not sponsored by alcohol, they want to be sponsored by alcohol. So they're flashing alcohol in the jar and drinking alcohol throughout the show, hoping that one of these alcohol companies pick them up, right? So they can get paid for the show besides just getting the money they're making from YouTube. They're trying to get sponsors from the alcohol companies. So what I'm saying is, you got people sitting down more and consuming way more sugar. Movement is dropped, and movement's going to continue to drop. Every time a person gets an AI employee or AI secretary, or job develops in a way where they now doing AI, all that means is that there's going to be 100 more people with metabolic disease. And that's happening every moment. Every moment you blink, there's 100, 500, 1,000 more people that's going to have metabolic disease. I'm trying to tell you, you know what I'm saying? Like, and listen, I got a bunch of certifications over the years. I haven't used any of them. I haven't used any of them because nobody really asks for that kind of stuff. Nobody asks for that kind of stuff. You're in the help space. Anybody that you deal with is going to be based on experience. So it's what you're doing and who you're helping that's more important. There's a lot of naturopathic doctors and personal trainers and all kinds of professionals that have got degrees and certifications that they can't monetize those things. They can't monetize those things. Like they're out of work. They got a lot of pieces of paper, but they can't do anything with them because they don't have any service to the people.
Photosynthesis. Green is the businesses. Health is wealth. What are both instances? Green is the business. Green is the business. Get your order still. 100-pack chlorophyll, more than real, applaud the deal. Vitamin K for the blood, vitamin A for your eyes. Power of the ocean, American healer is the gold. Inky big bro price for the low. Copping gold, let them know. We cleanse and fasting. Get the mark manual today. We don't clay. Desire in Christ.
Melanin first diabetes. We here. Time to make magic, baby.
Rolling through the sand like a thought in disguise. The scarab spins truth where the cosmos collide. Energy whispers.
Side effects may include diarrhea, seizures, hair loss, eye loss, teeth loss, leg loss, divorce, getting arrested, diarrhea, death, paranoia, your friends blocking you, dizziness, prison, your eyes falling out, uncontrollable gas. You will die if you take this.
Your business. The mind your business. The mind is money. Repent is your self-defense. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Dollar, 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 dollar bill.
Dollar bill, dollar bill, dollar, dollar. Built it all on dollar bill, the foundation. Every dream start at the bottom before it turned into a nation. Yeah, built it on some shortcuts, no inflation. Every dollar got a story. The currency of patience. Started from the bottom, now we started from the bottom. Started from the bottom. Money's blood, a magical force. The logo when money give life to a corpse. Health is wealth, spell a glitch. If health is wealth, how does a corpse get rich? Just that Wall Street flow, baptism, homage. You know human life, stock and bondage is what you crave. Banks direct the way again. Banks directing the way. Built it all on dollar bills, the foundation. Every dream started at the bottom before it turned into a nation. Built it on, no shortcuts, no inflation. Every dollar got a story. The currency of patience. Started from the column, now we started from the column. Who started from the column? Wealth is inside it. Won't mean Osiris, the first course you were doing during mean. Hear the reason for the number 13. Pyramid symbolism, understand the doctrine. Knowledge branches came from like a knot in levels from the. She tracked the stakes, the 13th race. After the 12 days, Osiris' days on Aries was gaze. The Emmys, the logo stamped engraved. In the beginning was what birds said and waves. One is one is me. From I am. One is one is me. From I am. Every second she said it's a pit. Let's talk about living in sin. It was money, little long. It's just a coincidence. State religion is the strongest. We got money, make money, money, money. We got money, make money, money, money. We got money, make money, money, money. Dollar bill, built it all on dollar bill, the foundation. Every dream's right, the bottom. For it turned into a nation. Built it on with a short rush of inflation. Every dollar got a story. The currency of So this walk on my vision never was empire built brick by brick, dollar by dollar, now they chase 10. Hundreds for the flex, I was cannon every ground, just under respect, my befores, don't forget the time. Every nest I find some feet, I don't give up with the dream as they vision that it breathe. I should fake love, hope for paper, I seen paper, turn to power. For the truth in every tower, these are veins don't say be hours. Residents never bring me out what you gon' do with this. I'm a pretty no like make the singers do it is. I don't work so money, I can manage. Money can work multiple lives. Dollar bills teach you economics, train bills teach you standards. Been running those straight on alias, skip full of mass, different pride. But if you don't respect it, you're on hand. I run for every time. American money, you'll slide and stand. Dark scene is an eye for here. You're working enough for it's a tribal. Gonna build, to build a foundation. Every dream inside at the bottom, before it turns to rain. Nothing on what to start, that's no inflation. Every dollar by the soul. The promise is innovation. Started from the bottom, started from the bottom, started from the bottom, started from the bottom. Everybody keep shining, I know she's structure, holding it up. With the base beat, hoping, don't try, father, and I'm counting it up. He is the mission, true value is for kitchen. The mind expensive, no need for convincing, I'm crazy, on life, blue, and they gon' ice, the game is sliced, hell is inflammation. You are seeing this nation, Freemasonry is they got Freemasonry is nation. What is one from I am it. When is what is from I am it. In a sense, of Felix's and Paris. Talk about living inside. We go with the most real and obvious. It's a course of this, but my living is strong.
Okay. My bad, y'all. I had an important phone call from one of my brothers. Shout out to Knowledge. Shout out to Knowledge from Do the Knowledge Radio. Nah, but that didn't come from me. Yeah, that's interesting, but nah, that ain't. The chlorella and the spirulina. All right, so here, yeah, let's get back on track. Right? Let's get back on track. Put some books down. Because what I want to do is go through some quick foods real quick, right? In terms of fat, right? Now, this is just basic stuff. This is just basic stuff, right? This is just basic stuff. All right, so one thing is grapefruit. All right, so let's look at grapefruit real quick. Let's look at grapefruit real quick. Let's look at grapefruits real quick. Let's go to grapefruits. Let me see. Inside the book, we're on page 407. Right? So if you don't have this book, make sure you go to Amazon and get your Melanin is Anabolic book. We're giving a few different examples of foods. Right? Now, grapefruit is a good basic example. Right? In fact, grapefruit kind of walks us back down into, remember today is a holiday. We're supposed to read from this book, The Blueprint That Builds Itself, right? This is a lengthy book. It's a quick read though, right? But grapefruit And obviously with grapefruit, there's some conversations about estrogen and testosterone and some other things, but grapefruit is able to activate this guy right here. Right? Do we remember this guy? AMPK? Remember AMPK, right? Whenever you see the K on the end of a molecule in your body, usually it stands for kinase, right? Usually it stands for kinase, Kinase, right? Anything with the ASE is an enzyme. Now the AMP, right? Remember your energy is what? ATP, right? Adenosine triphosphate. When you hydrolyze, right, you go to ADP, which means instead of 3 phosphates, you now have 2 phosphates, right? And then the next step down, when you hydrolyze again, you go to AMP, which means instead of 2 phosphates, which is what we're using for energy, now you only have 1, right? And depending on how much of each you have available inside your cells determines how much energy is available to that cell. AMPK is the enzymes in your cell that's keeping track of this. AMPK is keeping track of this, right? And when you get low, AMPK, when you get down to AMP, and you have a lot of AMP floating around in the cell, this is going to stimulate your body to tap into fat storage. Because if you have, typically, right, if you, without diabetes in play, right, let's just say you have a relatively healthy person. Relatively healthy person, they're going to have a decent level of ATP and ADP floating around their cells because they're going to have a good amount of glucose being turned into electricity at all times, right? So they have electrogenesis, which leads to aquagenesis happening all the time. Electrogenesis means the creation of electricity from glucose, and aquagenesis is the creation of water from electricity. That's what happens to your food, right? When your body begins to use energy faster than you can refuel, right? So your body is demanding more energy than your carbohydrate supply can manage. You get low on energy. When you get low on energy, your AMPK system kicks in to start telling your body, okay, listen, you know, break down them triglycerides and all that. Like send, you know, we got to run through beta oxidation, right? We got to bust open them fat storages and run through beta oxidation to get. Now, people that have obesity on one side, diabetes on the other, usually have impaired AMPK. So the more efficient your AMPK system is running, the more efficient your energy system overall runs, which includes breaking down fat and converting the glucose into electricity, metabolizing glucose, right? So diabetics and people that are obese usually have, like I said, an impaired AMPK system. Now, grapefruit is a simple, easy food as medicine solution for your AMPK system, right? And I think grapefruits are still maybe $1 each, right? You can go get a bag of 8. You get a bag of 8 grapefruits maybe for $6, right? If you get organic grapefruits, you might get 4 or 5 grapefruits for the same $6, right? So it may go from $1 or 75 cents a grapefruit, something like that. It may go from 75 cents to $1 to about $1.50 a grapefruit, right? But that is a very price efficient way to stimulate your AMPK system, right? Anybody out there that's trying to shred fat, you want to stimulate that AMPK system. And if you couple it, right? Now you can do it any time of the day, but if you couple your AMPK to your explosive work or your endurance work, you will get more bang for your buck, right? So that means if you're doing your 10,000 steps and you breaking it down throughout the day, but you have one segment where you get 2-3 miles in straight, or if you're a jogger or if you're a runner, you might want to have that grapefruit right before you go out, or maybe put the grapefruit in your pocket. When me and Chase did our 26 miles, we put grapefruits in the book bag. That's what the day before we went on our 26-mile little marathon, I went to the supermarket and got coconut waters and grapefruits for this purpose. So that way, when I started to get to where my body could feel like I can't take another step, them grapefruits is in there. The grapefruits is in there to activate the AMPK. The AMPK is going to help my body to empty out the fat cells, right? And then the coconut water is going to give me all of those ions that we was talking about earlier, right? So that's what we had. We left with 2 book bags full of grapefruits and coconut waters on our 26-mile little journey, right? All right. Berries, right? Blackberries and raspberries, right? Blackberries and raspberries, right? Or berries in general. Berries in general are high in pigment and fiber. Just very simple, right over the plate, right? Very simple pigments and fibers. Now, we already went over them the other day, which we'll continue to go over them 1,000 times because the plant genetics book is full of it, right? The plant genetics book, we kind of go over them over and over again, but your berries is full of polyphenols, right? Your berries are full of polyphenols, and for the size and the weight of berries, they are high in water and fiber, right? So polyphenols fiber and water. Actually, that's not correct. Let's change polyphenols because that's just one category of pigments found in the berries. Let's say pigments because that covers a much more broad area, right? Because you have a wide variety of pigments inside of berries, right? Now, also, a part of this fiber, once again, right? GLP-1, right? But now if we add in right, these are berries, right? If we add in green apples, now mind you, all this stuff is super easy. None of this stuff is weird foodless stuff where you got to order it from wherever. All this is right in your supermarket, right? All this is right in your supermarket. Pectin. It is another fiber that stimulates the GLP-1 network, right? So not only does this fiber activate mobilization of fat, but it reduces the hunger cravings, right? And those things goes together, right? Put those two things together. Mobilizing fat, reducing hunger craving. Well, the hunger craving is starving for energy at a certain level. And obviously, it should reduce hunger craving if it's feeding the body's need for energy by mobilizing fat, right? So it starts to make sense, right? So grapefruits, berries, green apples, right? Of course, with the skin. Hopefully, none of y'all are listening to Ali Muhammad. Blueberries. Oh, papaya, right? Papayas not only come in with digestive enzymes, right? Papayas not only come in with digestive enzymes, but they also stimulate the lymphatic system. Man, we down to the bottom of the whiteboard. I don't even know if y'all can see on that. Right? So, grapefruit stimulates the AMPK. Berries comes in with pigments, and the pigments cover a wide variety from antioxidants to polyphenols to protecting the pancreas, and all kinds of, it just does a lot of wide variety of things. Fiber, different types of fiber, feeds the microbiome, activates, short chain fatty acid conversion to GLP-1 agonists and all of this good stuff. Papaya, all this stuff is in your supermarket. All this stuff in your supermarket, and all this stuff is less than $2. All this stuff is less than $2, right? When I had Will on, somebody was asking about foods on a budget. Just go to the produce section, right? Go to the aisle, rice and beans. Get you a big bag of rice for $10, right? Depending on the type of rice, determines the size of the bag of rice, right? Because if you spend $10 on the cheap white rice, you're gonna come back with a sack of white rice. But if you get brown rice, it's gonna be less of a big bag, right? And then if you get black or wild rice, it's gonna shrink a little bit more, but you still can get a big bag of rice for $10, no matter what type of rice, right? And then beans, your lentils should run you, right? Lentils should run you in the supermarket. You ain't even got to be a whiz at shopping. In your regular supermarket, your lentils should run you anywhere from $2 a bag, $2 a pound, $2 to $4 a pound, depending on what kind of lentils you get. The peas should be in the same price range. Peas should be $2 to $4 a pound. Beans should be anywhere from like $2 to maybe $5 a pound. They get crazy for some beans sometimes. Yeah, but all that's inexpensive. So you go right from there, from the aisle with the rice and beans, the dry rice, dry beans, not canned. And then you go to the produce section. And produce section cheap too. Yeah, produce section cheap. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're trying to show out in the produce section, you're going to get pomegranate juices and all kind of food. Okay, well then you out. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? But these items, all inexpensive, right? All these items are inexpensive. None of these items are expensive, right? And then you go from there while you're in the produce section, right? You done filled up your cart. right? You done filled up your little cart with fruits. You got some green apples. They bitter, but that's the bitter the better. You got you a couple different fruits, right? You got you some raspberries, some blackberries, some blueberries, right? The raspberries and the blackberries probably cost $2, $3. The blueberries, they might try to smack you for those, $5, right? So you get you some blackberries, some blueberries, some red berries for $10. Bam. You get you a bag of apples for about $5. You get you some grapefruit. Ooh. Yeah, $15. You done got all kind of fruit. Bam. You loaded. Now, right, we're going to double back and hit the veggies, right? So we're going to get the Christ, right? We're going to get the Christ vegetables, right? We're going to get the Christ vegetables, right? The Christ vegetables. Think of it that way. Remember it that way. Put that in your mind. The Christ vegetables. Put that in your mind, right? Like, hold up, Inky. You just made that up. There's no such thing as Christ vegetables. You are correct. There is no such thing as Christ vegetables, right? There is no such thing as Christ vegetables. You are correct. I definitely made that up. But it is a good mnemonic to help you remember some stuff, right? It's a good mnemonic to help you remember some stuff. Now let's look this up real quick so you can see that I didn't really totally make it up. I did kind of make it up, but I ain't totally made it up. Right? I didn't totally make that up. I kind of made it up, but I ain't totally make it up. Right? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. See, I didn't totally make that up. I kind of made it up, but I didn't totally make it up. Right? Now, the beauty about these vegetables here is these is the vegetables that turns up your liver and turns down estrogen. These guys turns up your liver. That's why we got the arrow here. And turns down estrogen. So cruciferous vegetables attack fat from two different directions, right? They also turns down cortisol, right? So cruciferous vegetables down-regulate cortisol, down-regulate estrogen, and turn up the liver. What does the liver do in your body? The liver metabolize fat, right? The liver metabolize fat. The liver is the one dealing with cholesterol and all that, right? So the more active your liver is, the more your body can metabolize fats and cholesterols, right? So you want to get you some cruciferous vegetables. What vegetables are cruciferous vegetables, right? What are the cruciferous vegetables? There's a bunch of them, right? There's a bunch of them. Right? Kale, right? And you can go get you a bunch of different types of kale, right? Dinosaur kale, red kale, black kale, purple, whatever. There's a bunch of different kales, right? We'll get you some kale, right? What do the bodybuilders do? What do the bodybuilders do? How do the bodybuilders, the old school bodybuilders, what did they do before TRTs? They just injected steroids into their butt. They did not just inject steroids into their butt. This is why some bodybuilders take steroids for a long time and you know, I ain't gonna say nothing bad happens to them, but they're able to take care of themselves, and some folks are not. Because the bodybuilders that use steroids, that take care of themselves or that last in the sport a long time, you know, using them heavy drugs, they're actually using vegetables to counteract the chemicals. They're using these vegetables right here. This is it. They're using the Christ vegetables to counteract. Let's see. Let's go shopping real quick. Let's go to Amazon. Let me show y'all what they got going on Amazon. Where's that page we just had up? Okay, now let's go to Amazon and let's look up Dims. All right, y'all see these? These are Dims. Welcome to the world of Dims. This is a much better alternative than TRTs for most of you. So if you was thinking about going on TRTs and you didn't try this first, you owe me the largest super chat in your life. If you didn't know about this and you was thinking about, I should do a commercial. If you didn't know about Dims and you was thinking about TRTs, take yourself to Amazon right now. I would do a commercial. Why don't you get paid from Amazon? But this is a universe that you need to tap into. All right? Dims, and you see the prices is not too crazy. Right? The prices are not that crazy. You're looking at $20 roughly. I see $40 over here. And look at these guys. They promoting it for clear skin. That's interesting. Dims for men. Dims for detox. Now they're trying to blow me up. So now you know, oh, Inky got the Dims inside the Kimmy. It's a little bit of Dims up in there. A little bit. But if you think about TRT, you need to get one of these joints to concentrate. Now, mind you, all these is vegetable extracts. All of these are just vegetable extracts. Right? So this whole universe is just vegetable extracts. So listen, this is another one that I'm trying to explain to y'all. This is going to be big when it's food as medicine. Because you think about all the different things that estrogen impacts, from fibroids and fertility to cancer and everything in between, right? This is why back in the days, I'm just saying, when people was going hardcore with the Savvy food list, and I was too, you know, there was some things that I'd be like, broccoli's not on the food list, but you probably want to add you some broccoli in anyway. And that's why you see a lot of bodybuilders meal plans. When you see a lot of bodybuilder meal plans, they will have chicken breasts and they'll have steamed broccoli, right? Because they add in their protein and then they add in the broccoli to reduce any estrogen flowing around, right? So all of these are cruciferous vegetables: broccolis, kale, I think bok choy. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of bok choy. But broccoli, I like broccoli. I like Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts is cruciferous vegetables. I like cabbage. I like cabbage. Purple cabbage is goat level. Purple cabbage is goat level, right? Shout out to my guy Rudy in the building. That's a good question. Can you mix the black seed oil with the oregano oil? I mean, I guess you could do it, but what are you doing with that? You know what I'm saying? Because the reason why I'm saying what are you going to do with that is because oregano oil is crazy. And the commercial market for oregano oil has made oregano oil kind of dangerous. You know what I'm saying? In a good way, if you know what you're doing with oregano oil, but you know, they done extracted the, what is that? Cavacrol, the active thing inside the oregano oil, and they done made like super strong ones. So I know people that have had some pretty bad, made some pretty bad mistakes with oregano oil. Because a lot of times, we put oil in our face, on our hair and stuff like that. You can't put oregano oil like that on your skin. Yeah, Cavacrol. Yeah, they done got some oregano oils. That's like 90% for antifungal. Internal though. Yeah, internal, sure. Yeah, you can go internal with that all day. Yeah, you can go internal. You know what I'm saying? Oh, they've been selling that combo online. Interesting. I think the people selling that combo is probably just selling that combo because they're two popular oils. And they know that if people see it mixed together, it'll be like an impulse purchase because people is looking for black seed oil, not because they know what to do or whatever the case may be, but just because, that's the black seed oil. I know about that. The black seed oil, you know what I'm saying? And the oregano oil, forget about it. So, but yeah, I use them both. I like them both. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to oils, the more the merrier, depending on what you're kind of doing with them. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure you would need to add the black seed oil to the oregano though for antifungal. That oregano oil gonna do what it do. Black seed oil is kind of like, I mean, it's got some properties, but black seed oil is more like the opposite. You know what I'm saying? At least from usage. You know what I'm saying? The market and material on black seed oil is crazy. Starting with, Tutankhamun and Kemet and, this is crazy surrounding black seed oil. The marketing campaign. So from experience though, black seed oil is nutritive. At least from my usage and experience, it works best in a nutritive sense. Oregano oil does not though. Oregano oil is that work. Oregano oil is for purging. Yeah. Oregano oil is that work for purging. Ooh, we got second Ezra in the building. Today really is a holiday. We got second Ezra in the building. Man, we ain't seen second Ezra in the building in a minute. Man, we ain't even gonna mention the homeboy. He ran off with my whole blueprint. Yeah, ran off with my whole blueprint. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was doing an interview up there. I got lined up. I thought I was doing an interview so that I could get my products in the location. Come to find out, I was set up to do the interview so that homeboy could steal my how my joint, my whole program and do his own thing. Oh man. I know. I know. We count you in the rewatch family. Y'all don't be in the live though. Yeah, he violated. Do I even got those videos up still? Let me see. Do I have those videos up? Yeah. Yeah, I definitely got the receipts. You know the receipt game be heavy.
Only these dumb rap. I'm uncomfortable, anyway, I don't know. Now you got these young cats acting like
Herb cats,
all in these dumb raps talking about how they
herb stack,
when I see them in the street, I don't see none of that. Man, playboy,
who's in the clinics at?
where's all the ice with all the platinum under that? Those things,
Cold water algae,
what the fuck you done to that?
I'll be having the receipts laid around, So anyway, cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables metabolizes fat from a lot of different angles. And then what else we got? We got beets, right? We got beets. Beets is good. Beets is good if you want to get off of, if you want to stop taking Viagra's and all that, right? Beets, Viagra, and Cialis, right? They work better. They work better if you have never got on Viagra's and Cialis. Once you go on Viagra and Cialis, the beets is going to be it's like a person that has never had a stimulant. If they drink coffee, they be like wired. But if you put a cocaine addict on coffee, then it's not the same type of effect. That's how it is with Viagra and Cialis, because beets have a way of stimulating nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide production is going to stimulate your blood flow, right? So now you take it to another level. What time is it? We still got time? Okay. We still cooking. But you take it to another level. Remember earlier when I was saying if you add the grapefruit to your running or whatever the case may be, this is for the juice people, right? This is for the juice people. You might want to add you a little beetroot in, right? But if you do that, make sure you add the green part of the beet to it too. Add the plant part. Throw that right on in there. Juice that too. Get the plant, get the leaves. Right? So this is going to have an impact, right? Because people with high A1C numbers, high cholesterol, and high A1C numbers and high cholesterol translates to high blood pressure. So by naturally boosting up your nitric oxide levels, you can begin to lower your blood pressure, right? You can begin to lower your blood pressure, right? What else? Now, dandelion greens is harder to find, right? But dandelion greens is good. Dandelion greens stimulate bile, right? Now, bile, I don't talk about all the time. Almost probably never, but nobody, the holistic community never talks about bile. But I try to slip it in where I can because it is a part of your pigment system. Bile is very much a part of your pigment system, right? And we go over that in some of the books, right? But bile is a part of recycling blood and the whole process, right? But bile also is about metabolizing fats, right? This is why people sometimes miss their gallbladder after they done had their gallbladder removed. Like, bro, you probably should have just kept that on up in there. You should have figured out plan B. Kept that thing in there, right? Okay, we talked about the cruciferous vegetables in terms of fat metabolism, but also cruciferous vegetables are high in sulfurs, right? They're high in sulfurs that do what? Stimulate the NRF2 system, right? All right. So we got us a little basic little food list out the way. And let me see, do we have enough time to go through the rest? Let me see. Because these recipes all look crazy.
Yeah. And I'm definitely grateful to collab with Ink. Like, he's been, sort of like a silent mentor, kind of like, guiding me through a lot of these.
Because these recipes all look crazy.
Yeah. And I'm definitely grateful to collab with Ink. Like, he's been, sort of like a silent mentor, kind of like, guiding me through a lot of these different processes. And, me reaching out to him, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So that's just a testament to, a lot of information that, I gathered from him and other people.
Lamar, don't take my word for it. Stalin, Society Baby, Dead Stop, Madman, Jeremiah.
Thanks to the whole chat.
It's not just kitchen chemistry. You gotta add chemistry in the kitchen. And well cooking. Yeah. Osborne, Politic, Kev, Brian, Amber, on your speaker. Peyton, Andrew, you know the life. Kyle D, Lord be snipes on Christ. Nobody else is this nice. So good it's almost a bite. So good it's almost a bite. So good it's almost a bite. I've been nice like nobody else. Right in the fear, look, Paul top shelf. It's nothing new, you can tell me. I live off love, shout out to Helvy. I believe in God, it's really natchez. 20 years later, we're fairly natchez. 100 packs popping, studying detoxing. Live on YouTube, new books dropping. We yelling, add your game, 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 add your game. Osborne, Anapha, Politica, Kev, and I'm your speaker. Peyton, Andrew, you know the life. Kyle D, Lauren P. Snipes on Christ. Nobody else is this nice. So good it's almost a vibe. So good it's almost a vibe. Z still with us. Mun still with us. Tiff still with us. Hey, this what consistency get us. The Golly, I'm in Robert, Cardi, Hot One. We stylin'. It feel good to see Jamal Allen. Do it, Rashawn. Let me feel like LeBron. Hey, I'm telling you, chat, that's the topic. I see the life fiber optic. Levin has got it. It's real. I give thanks for tuning in. It's soon to win. Make sure you're doing him. Oh yeah. Make sure you're doing him. Make sure you're doing him. We yelling out your gang, 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 out your gang. Osborne, M4, politic, Kev, Ride, Amber, your speaker. Peyton Andrew, you know the life. Cosby, Lauren B. Snipes, on Christ, nobody else is this nice. So good it's almost a vice. So good it's almost a vice. Mark Hill and Jalen's, family, friends, they wanna see me make ends. Help me drop a bestseller, recognized as a trendsetter, through the stormy weather, still applying pressure. Blue magic natures, my bitter natures, my monthly detox getters. It's about waves we flowing. You already know where we going. Double back 100 packs from the ocean. They potent. Push up, peak, calisthenic cow. 60 and 60, getting busy. We got YouTube in a frenzy with no views. Me and my old crew in syndication. Off information, your veterans, veteran. Second season of medicine, time to talk bread again. Boom. Bars, bars, bars. Wham, wham. Bars, bars, bars. Wham, wham, wham. Wham, wham. Wham, wham. Osborne, M4, Paul and Tika, get Kev, Ride, Amber. I'ma you speak, Peyton, Andrew, you know the life. Cosby, Lauren B. Snipes, on Christ, nobody else is this night. Say, so good it's almost a vibe. Say, so good it's almost a vibe.
Let's go, man. You already know this for the family, man. Listen, and this is not for the Patreon family. Okay, this is not for the Patreon family. This is not for the book family. This is just a video for the live chat. All right, for the live chat. And I know for a certain fact that I done missed somebody's name, or I got your name, but I just couldn't fit it into a bar. You know what I'm saying? So don't think I forgot about you. You know what I'm saying? If you're not in the